What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Ron Yates here. In less than 24 hours, over $300 million in cash that could be used toward down payment assistance in the state of California is about to be completely wiped out. Now, California has been really busy recently. You guys have seen my previous videos. We talked about this, actually, this very situation here. Actually, $500 million was actually originally allocated for this particular program here. We're talking about the California Housing Finance Agency and specifically the California Dream for All program. Now, we know that California is one of the states with one of the most aggressive home price increases that we've seen over the last 24 to 36 months. And specifically, San Francisco is actually seeing quite a bit of a pullback in the housing market. They've seen housing price declines to the tune of roughly 20 to 30% of a pullback in the housing market. And so California is rather desperate at this point, trying to kind of prop up the housing market. We've seen reports from Zillow, from Redfin, from Realtor.com talking about the state of the economy, the state of the housing market, rental prices. In fact, many people in San Francisco are having a very difficult time just being able to afford rent, let alone purchasing a house. And so the dream of home ownership is getting further and further away from the American people. And it has extended the distance between how real this dream could possibly be when you add to the fact that Fed Chair Jerome Powell has been raising interest rates more aggressively than we've seen in the last 40 plus years. And California is also the home of one of the very first recent bank failures and bank collapses. Remember Silicon Valley Bank? That was also in California. So California's got a lot of financial activity going on. Not so positive lately, but this could have actually helped out homeowners. But unfortunately, this program is coming to an end, and over $300 million of allocated funds is about to be completely wiped out. It says here, after opening to the public less than 2 weeks ago, the California Housing Finance Agency announced that its new $300 million down payment assistance program will be paused, and all funds will be fully allocated to the participating homebuyers as early as Monday. It goes on to say that California, or CalHFA anticipates that all funds currently available to the Dream for All shared application loan could be fully committed as soon as April 10th. Check your calendars, guys. Less than 24 hours away. And it goes on to say here that the California Dream for All shared application loan, introduced to help first-time homebuyers put a down payment on a house, went live on March 27th. Now, look, that's March 27th this program went live. Now, initially, here's the scary part. California is doing its damnedest to prop up this housing market because they're seeing the market collapse. They're seeing the housing market crash in certain segments of California. Now, obviously, the situation is going to be different from one city in California to another. So, Sacramento will be different from San Diego, and then Los Angeles is going to be different from, Anaheim. So we're all over the place in terms of the property values, and that is why real estate is local. But the scary part is that $500 million was originally allocated to this program, but $200 million was immediately just taken off the board because, unfortunately, California had a budget. California's budget was short. And so they basically didn't have enough funds to cover the amount that they had initially planned to allot for this particular program. So it went from $500 million to $300 million for this particular program. And unfortunately, in less than 13, 14 days, this is 2 weeks of the program. Many people thought that this program would be available to new first-time homebuyers well into the summertime. But here we are 2 weeks in, and we can already see that this money is about to be completely exhausted already. So it goes on to say here, and here's the interesting part of this program. Now, I'm all for helping first-time homebuyers. I think personally, real estate is a phenomenal investment compared to other types of investments. It's one of the few investments that will allow you to leverage the asset. Most assets that you want to invest in, if it's a business. Now, granted, there's owner financing available for businesses. Let's just say you wanted to purchase, I don't know, a restaurant. You could work out a deal with the owner of the current restaurant. Chances are they want to make sure that you've got experience running the restaurant. Maybe it's a gas station you want to purchase. Whatever type of entrepreneurial venture you want to get into, chances are if you're working with the owner, if they have the financial capability to support it, they could offer owner financing to you. However, a lot of other businesses, and, depends on the business owner. Maybe they don't want to offer owner financing. So if you want to buy a business, maybe it generates $1 million a year, you may have to come out of pocket $3, $4, $5 million just to purchase this business. Now, here with real estate, the great thing is everyone needs a place to live. So either you're going to rent an apartment, and we all see the direction that apartment rental prices are going, whether it's a luxury apartment that you're interested in renting, whether it's a single family home that you're looking at renting, rent prices are going through the roof. And there are reasons for rent prices to slow down in terms of increases. But if you look historically, rent prices generally rarely pull back. And in terms of the reports that I'm reading, it indicates that 10 years from now, over 40% of the single family homes that are for rent right now will be owned by large corporations. Now, this projection should thoroughly concern anyone here in the United States. Reason being is you've got companies like Blackstone and other real estate investment corporations that are buying up single family residents now. Now, it used to be that, it was only like your ETFs, your exchange traded funds, some hedge funds. You had real estate investment trusts like your REITs. And so it used to be just those types of companies and investment houses that were interested in purchasing apartment complexes like your Amleys, your maybe different hotels. These types of ETFs or real estate investment trusts, many of these investment houses were interested in purchasing and leasing and renting commercial properties. So you had apartment buildings, you had apartment complexes, you had hotels, strip malls, and some of the ETFs, you can look them up yourself. You've got, I think, ticker symbol O. I want to say that's like Realty Trust Corporation. You've got Simon Property Corporation. So all these are different ETFs, and they own different types of commercial properties for the most part. Well, the tide is changing, and many of these hedge funds, we see the banks. The banks are struggling right now. Interest rates are rising, and they're struggling to meet the needs and demands of their investors. So they're looking for any way that they can turn a profit. And so they're seeing that the demand for real estate is still quite high. And this has been confirmed right here. I just shared with you the California Dream for All program, which was opened up to the public 13 days ago, and almost $500 million has already been allocated to those who are interested in purchasing a property. And so this proves, number one, how strong that the demand is for housing still, right? And we still have the inventory for housing is still well below where it needs to be in terms of it being a healthy market. So technically, because of how much inventory is on the market in terms of available homes for sale, it is technically still leaning towards being more of a seller's market. But the buyers are quickly changing gears here. And of course, California was doing all that they could to try to prop up the market. Let's give buyers the money that they need to be able to purchase a home. In California, the average home for the whole state. Now, obviously, certain cities are more expensive than others. If you live in Calabasas, like the Kardashians, obviously the average home price is going to be much higher than some of the more rural areas of California. But Look at it here. The average home price in California is well over $1 million. And in many parts of California, you might not even be able to get into a 3-bedroom, 3-bath home for less than $2 million. So, if you go into the bank and you say to the bank, hey, I want to buy this house, it's $2 million. Now, $2 million is not getting you some fancy place. $2 million might only get you a 2,500, 3,000 square foot home, depending upon the part of California that you're looking at. So if you go into this particular market, looking at a $2 million house, 10% down on that, you're looking at $200,000 as your down payment. Now, some parts of the country, for $200,000, you can buy the whole house. And many of these banks, Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic Bank, Credit Suisse, obviously these banks have failed. And what have you got? Signature Bank, FDIC had to step in, take over the banks. And so what do you think is happening? Many of these other banks are getting scared. They're being much more conservative. And so are the bank account holders. Many people have moved their money from smaller banks to larger banks, your JP Morgan Chases of the world, your Bank of Americas of the world. Some people are going to Wells Fargo. But the simple fact of the matter is this. Banks are becoming much more conservative. So some of the measures that they're taking are, hey, we're not willing to finance 95% of the loan. We're not willing to finance 90% of the mortgage. And so no longer are some banks even allowing home buyers or would-be home buyers to purchase a home with a 10% down payment. Some banks are saying, hey, we're scared, we're concerned, we want to protect ourselves. We don't want to go down, certainly not go down with the ship. We are only going to finance up to 80%. So can you imagine you're looking at a $2 million piece of real estate, a $2 million property, and you got to put 20% down? You'd have to put $400,000 down on a $2 million property that is literally very, very bare bones. This is not some luxury property, with 19,000 square feet, an infinity pool, 30-foot ceilings in the foyer. I mean, some parts of California, $2 million is very, very basic. In some parts of California, a $2 million house will be the same square footage as a $300,000 house in the Sun Belt of the United States. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Kansas. I mean, Kansas, I don't think Kansas is in the South, in the Sun Belt, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? So it really depends on where you're at. Now it said here, it says, how do people move so fast? Oh, this is from a Reddit post. How do people move so fast? How did they get pre-approved and do all the counseling, find a house and get into escrow in less than 2 weeks? That's a very good question. That is a very good question because the money went so fast. Only thing I can think of in terms of how that might have happened is that maybe people were already on the market for a home. They had been looking at the market, working with a real estate agent, looking at different properties, submitting offers, and then this program hit the market. And these people they've already identified the property. They've may have already had their offer accepted. And maybe they said, hey, wow, this program exists. Let me just apply. And so there's no downtime between getting approved for the program and locking down a property, which they had likely already found before this started. So anyway, it goes on to say here, in addition to meeting the income requirements, one stipulation of the program was that the applicants needed to take a homebuyer education course and secure a certificate of completion before being approved. To say nothing of the actual home buying process, which is the time and research, which is time intensive. While the Dream for All program will provide an estimated 2,300 low and moderate income Californians with a 20% down payment loan free of interest, is not without a catch. And so they're not going to charge you any interest on the loan. So technically, it's not really free money because the money has to be paid back. And of course, chances are they're going to be, the state of California is not dumb. They don't want to get screwed out of, $300 million They're going to more than likely, for every approved loan and for every check that they write to the Californians who are looking to make a home purchase, they're probably going to say, hey, here's 20%. Here's your 20% down payment. But this 20% down payment will create a lien that will be attached to your home. So the state of California will basically be able to foreclose on your home if you don't make good on the loan. And it goes on to say here, and you always got to read the fine print, guys. Let's see. It says, and the Dream for All loan is a shared appreciation loan, which means that at the time borrowers pay back that amount of money to the state that they lent them, they will also have to pay back a percentage of the home's growth in value, which is between 15 and 20%, depending upon the borrower's income level and how much they initially borrowed. Okay. So they give a great example here. It says, so a moderate income borrower hypothetically receives a 20% down payment from the Dream for All program on a home that costs $100,000, right? The loan from the state would be $20,000. This is the loan that they're giving the would-be home buyer as their down payment. So they're fronting the down payment, right? So 20% of $100,000 is $20,000. So this Dream for All loan program is giving you $20,000 that they can give toward as a down payment. Their primary loan is still $80,000. So the $20,000 plus the 80, that's $100,000. That's how they're able to buy this $100,000 house. Now, when the borrower pays off the full $80,000 of the primary loan, their home has appreciated in value and is, let's just say, hypothetically worth $200,000 in the future. So you buy the home today at $100,000, 20 years in the future, whatever, home's worth $200,000. Now, at that time, the borrower would be required to pay back the $20,000 to the state plus 20% of the appreciated value. So however much the house appreciates, you'll have to pay back the loan, the original $20,000 you borrowed, plus 20% of whatever the home's increase in value is. And so since the home is now worth $100,000 more than what they paid for it, the state is basically going to kind of tax that increase. So you borrowed $20,000. So obviously you got to pay that amount back. But let's just say that the house increases from $100,000 to $200,000. That piece of real estate appreciated by $100,000. So then you have to say, okay, well, 20% of $100,000 in appreciation is another $20,000. So your $20,000 original loan turns into you requiring or you being on the hook for paying back $40,000. So I hope that made sense for you guys. But anyway, so it's cool that this program exists. It helps homeowners be able to get into a home. Me personally, I think that home ownership is a wonderful thing. I don't think that there's anything necessarily inherently wrong with renting. But the cool thing about home ownership is that, you know, there's a difference between something that you own and something that you're renting. And you can also take that home that you're purchasing to live in and eventually, you know, maybe you want to upgrade, maybe you want to downgrade, whatever the case is. You can build equity in that piece of real estate. And real estate is one of the ways that, you know, it's one of the most popular ways that wealthy people have become wealthy. Now, obviously, running successful businesses is one of the fastest ways to become wealthy, but real estate is one of the few assets that banks readily allow you to borrow money to leverage yourself into that particular type of investment. And think about it like this, you know, you need a place to live no matter what. So if you can overcome the hurdle of a down payment, chances are you're going to pay about as much, as long as you find the right deal, you can pay as much buying the house as you would renting the house per month. And you also have the ability to borrow against the loan, borrow against the asset, which is your home. And, you know, you can take that money and invest in other properties. There's also 1031 exchanges, which allows you to basically defer taxes and, sell a property, make a profit, reinvest those profits into another property. I mean, heck, you can take the same property that you used to live in and rent it out to other people. And more than likely, if you've been in there for 5-10 years, you can likely just throw it on the market and have a positive cash flow every single month. Not a bad way to generate passive income. But anyway, I just wanted to share this quick update with you guys. Drop me your comments, drop me your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this. Also, for the best way to invest in gold, there is a link in the description of this video down below. And if you own a home already, be sure to get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below. Drop a like for the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Be safe.